Jai Masters. People often write us and they say, I got the low-hanging fruit thing, but there's a lot of fruit higher than that. The answer is very, very simple. Things happen in life. Unfair, unjust, harmful, painful. Things happen in life. Only a fool would not recognize that. From a spiritual point of view, this is how it looks. Those things happen. Do you want to suffer because of them? Or do you want to handle them reasonably, do what you can, and get on with your life? If you had the choice, which would you do? People leave you, people die, children die, accidents happen, on purposes happen. Everything happens, doesn't it? Has anyone noticed, or you've been living in a bubble somewhere? Okay? Does a spiritual person want those things to happen? Of course not. To them or to anybody else, of course not. That doesn't change anything. Things have always happened. They are happening, and they will happen. Yes, we should do everything we can to have them not happen. We put people in jail, and we have rules and laws and all kinds of policies and everything. They still happen. So the question is not, do they happen? The question is, what is the spiritual thing to do when these things happen to either you or anybody else? It's very straightforward. They have already happened. You can't make them not have happened. No one has ever made anything not have happened. Anything. Good things, bad things, neutral things, doesn't matter. If they have already happened, they have happened. So that's not the question of whether they happened and whether you can do anything about the fact that they happened. You can't. You can't stop them from having happened as much as you would like to. You can't stop them from having happened. So then what? The choice is very brutal. Either you accept that they happened and do what you can to get on with your life, which can include working to try and make it so they don't happen to other people. There's nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. It's not about being passive. It's about accepting reality. That's what it's about. If it happened, it falls into the category of reality. It's what happened. Either you accept that it happened and then go about your business. I'm not going to say what that business is. Or you don't accept that it happened and you suffer. You are going to suffer. Do you understand that? The event caused a certain amount of discomfort. The fact that the event is over and you can't accept that it happened means that that suffering continues maybe for the rest of your life. Does anybody understand that? There's no argument with this, is there? This is not a philosophy. This is not a religion. This is not a way of life. This is called, okay, there's pain and suffering, but then it's over until you decide that you can't handle that it happened. And I can't handle it. And I don't want it to have happened. How bad? So bad that I can't sleep at night. So bad that I'll never get married to anybody ever again. So bad that I'll never feel love ever again for the rest of my life. So bad that I suffer every single moment of my life. That's how bad it is. Okay, so one is something the event caused, and the other is something you're causing. And boy, they do not want to hear that. Do you understand that? You are the only one in there. The event is not in there. The experience of the event is in there. Things outside don't come in. Their image comes in. Their energy comes in. The event comes in. And you're in there. If you block that energy and say, no, I deny that it happened, I won't accept that it happened, it was wrong, and you push the experience, the inner experience away, you have caused suffering to yourself potentially for the rest of your life. In fact, how long will you suffer? Until you let it go. So far we've touched acceptance, letting go, and of course surrender falls right in there. People don't understand surrender. Surrender does not mean this thing happened, I surrender, okay, I'll do nothing about it. No, surrender doesn't mean that. Surrender has nothing to do with the outside. The outside already did its thing. By the way, I want to tell you something, as terrible as it is, weather can do terrible things. Hurricanes, tornadoes, tidal waves. And you know what happens the next day? The sun comes out. She does not say, I'm sorry, does she? She goes about her business and creates the next day. Do you? No. No, I do not. I cannot accept that it happened. My house was damaged. Somebody happened. They said, all this neighbor, everything. I cannot accept that. I will not accept that. So the next day doesn't come for you. That day stays with you. But it didn't stay. It did not stay. It came and it went, but not inside of you. Please listen. That's why I said people want to ask, what about the tough stuff? You don't want to hear the answer. Now, we will get to the point in the discussion that we can talk about, can you learn to handle things? Yes. Can you handle them now? No. But you didn't know how to do calculus when you went to your first calc class. You didn't know how to drive when you first drove a car. You didn't know how to play tennis when you first picked up a racket. You sure as heck didn't know how to play the piano the first time you sat down at a keyboard. You have the ability to learn. The question is, do you want to? Or do you want to suffer? So let's just go back to nature. I like, okay, yes, bad people can do bad things and all kinds of things happen. Nature, you ain't doing nothing about that. That's been going on forever, and it's going to be going on forever. Nature expresses herself. It's not true that she doesn't like you and so it rained on your birthday. It rained on your birthday because the weather conditions that happened in Spain 3 weeks ago, and then they came across the Atlantic and there was warming, and not because it was your birthday. Don't do that. I think science is a wonderful thing. I think reality is a wonderful thing. Why? Because it's what is. It's called reality. You have to respect reality because there's nothing you can do about it except, what you can do about reality? Suffer. Suffer when she's not even doing what she's doing. That's your choice. So here we have the situation where a day has happened. I really want to focus on that. A day has happened and it was very destructive. Weather, terrible conditions. And then it stopped. And the beautiful sun came up with a beautiful light and sunshine and colors. And hello, I'm back. All right? The question is, are you back? And the answer is no. Why? It's not happening anymore. Why do you want to take the worst day of your life and carry it into the next day? And I'll give you the answer for you because you don't know how not to. How's that? Because nobody in the right mind would choose to suffer. It's over. He died. The hurricane took place. The house is gone. No matter what it is, it's what happened. You're not going to make it not have happened. So a logical, wise person looks at it and says, okay, now what? What do you mean now what? That day is over. What is this day? And what I'm going to do this day? And like I said, I know you can't do this, and I'm not telling you to do it. But I do want you to learn how to do it. Why? Because I care for you. Why would I want you to suffer beyond the terrible event that already took place? If I have a choice, okay, you went through a terrible event. Now I want you to be okay, just like the weather's okay. Why not? What's the upside of not being okay? Come on, tell me. Has that fixed anything? It doesn't, does it? It's not logical. I'm putting aside, don't worry that I know you don't know how to do it. But I'm telling you there's a way to learn. There's a story of a very, very great enlightened master. And we're not there, but it's nice to tell the story. Ramana Maharshi. He lived in the Himalayas, and from a very young age he went off the Himalayas and was fully enlightened and one of the higher beings that walked the face of the earth. Very, very great being. In fact, his teachings were witness consciousness. His entire teaching was who sees when I see, who hears when you hear, all of that from way back. Isn't that beautiful? And he was an enlightened master. There's a story that, they live in the Himalayas with this small band of disciples. And the Himalayas is a tough place to live. And so they're going on a trip up to see some other saint or something, up to some place, some ashram somewhere, and they're climbing the Himalayas, and they go to sleep, him and a band of his people, and robbers come. I don't want the karma of those robbers, but robbers come, steal, beat them up, literally beat up the master, beat them up, and take their stuff and go away. And, they're bleeding, they're hurt, okay? But it was late at night, and they fall asleep from all the commotion, and then they get up in the morning, and it's a mess. All this stuff is all over the place, and people are hurt, and so on. And the master is up early and walking up the path. Which path? The path that they were walking on before this happened. And a disciple called out, Master, where are you going? He said, well, up to the ashram. I thought we were going to the ashram, up there. I said, hello, right? And there was no hello. It was over for him. Do you understand that? And they were just sitting there saying, well, we got to go back down the mountain and tell people, do something. But, so, you are capable. Everyone's capable. Why? Because it didn't stay inside of you, except if you kept it inside of you. It came, an event happened outside, it came in, you experienced it, and it passed through. And so now another day has unfolded. I mean, of course, you bandage your wounds if you do, but you just pick it up and you keep going. Why? Because the alternative is to say that terrible event is going to determine the rest of my life. That terrible divorce is going to determine the rest of my life. The fact that my child got sick, how unfair is that? Oh, innocent child. That's going to determine the rest of my life. Is that what you want? Because that's not spiritual. That doesn't mean it's not compassionate. It doesn't mean you don't have feelings. It means you can handle your feelings. It is perfectly natural that an event takes place and it comes in. It is not going to be easy to digest. It's not. It's going to hurt. It's going to bring with it the vibration that it created. Now the question is, how long does that stay in there? I've taught you something that I don't know that anyone ever told you before. There is nothing solid inside of you. Nothing. Air is not solid, is it? What is going on inside of you, I don't mean your guts, I mean inside, your mind, your emotions, they're more subtle than air by 1,000,000 billion times. Air is made of atoms. That's not. Your thoughts are not made of atoms. Go on, create a boat inside your mind. Go to Mars. Boy, did you re-land, reuse your rocket? Right? It's like you can do anything you want with your mind. Why? There's no laws of physics. There's no laws of matter. It's very etheric. It's completely subtle. It's subtle energy. None of it is solid. Nothing. There's no superglue in there. There's no flypaper in there. There is absolutely nothing except that the energy, the Shakti, the Chi of the event comes in. It's experienced by the indwelling consciousness as it passes through, and then the next event takes place. That's what Be Here Now means. Be Here Now is the most natural state that could ever exist. There is no other place to be. These events unfolding, and unless you're creating alternate events inside your mind, that's the only way you're not here now, is you created an alternate reality within your mind. You're hanging out there. So it's all very, very simple. There's nothing solid in there. How come the stuff gets stuck? Because you use your will to hold it in there. I don't care how bad it is, how strong it is, how terrible the event is. It comes and it goes. If it is done outside, I don't want to say it should be, it can be done inside. Why? Because there's nothing solid in there. The wind does not stop unless you hold up plywood. And then the wind still doesn't stop. It tries to push you over, okay? Energy moves. And if you're not in the way, it will come in and it will pass. You have to suppress it. You have to rationalize it. You have to deny it. Somebody asked me the other day, they was sitting over there, I've learned to process these things. Well, that's wonderful. Other people deny them and suppress them. You learn to process them. Why? Because you're holding the plywood and you're learning how to let go a little bit, all right? In the end, if reality was taking place, the event would come in, you would experience it. Of course, there are going to be some tinges of resistance, right? Christ in the garden, Christ, fully enlightened, the highest being ever walked the face of the earth. He sat there and look what was going to happen to him. He was psychic. He saw the whole thing. He saw the crucifixion. He saw the arrest. He saw every single thing. And what did he say? May I pass this cup? That's so beautiful. Do I have to go through this? May I pass this cup? And then what did he say? As the breath left his mouth to say, may I pass this cup? He said, I'm sorry. Not my will, but thy will. In other words, I will not resist. And he did not resist one iota through the entire experience, did he? That is the epitome of what we're talking about, isn't it? Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. In other words, he is high enough to where the event passed through. It can pass through. All right? Wow. Guess what? So are you. Why? Because the only thing solid in there is your will. You have free will. You have free will. You have hands in there, don't you? You can push things around. You can grab them if you like them and push them away if you don't like them. You can push them away so far that Freud had to show up and tell you, oh, what'd you do with that? It's still in there. That's all that is. That's like a deep form of resistance. I resisted the event, and he said, okay, you suppressed it. There's a subconscious down there. There's nothing anywhere inside. It's empty. You built a subconscious with the things you couldn't let pass through. Each one of the things that you couldn't let pass through is like a brick. You made a brick out of it. Why? Because it can't pass. It's stopped at your will. And you made a bunch of those and built a house. And part of the house you like looking at, the things you accept, your self-concept, and part of it you don't ever want to look at again. The part you held inside you don't want to look at again. Well, then why hold it in there? If you don't like something, why did you keep it? And the answer is, I know the answer, because you don't know how not to. And you want to know why? Because no one ever taught you. They taught you the way to be okay is to not have bad things happen. That's the way to be okay. And the way to be okay is if they do happen and they bother you, express that. Either suppress that or express that. Start blogging about it as fast as you can and get everyone else to share what's happening because you stopped it and they don't know what to do with it. Normally, people stop it before the web showed up. They stop it and no, I can't deal with it. Okay, push it away. In time, it's pushed away. It's called suppression. Suppression or repression. The event happened and you couldn't handle it, so you pushed it away and you built a subconscious. There is no subconscious. You made something. You made an area of your mind where you can store the things you don't ever want to look at again. It's subconscious. It's below the conscious. Who put it there? You. God didn't put it there. Unfortunately, God created the event, the hurricane or the tornado, all right? The life, reality unfolded, and then you couldn't handle it, so you shoved it away and you built an area inside your mind which is below your conscious. Your conscious doesn't want to look at it. So when I say there's no subconscious, I'm not disagreeing with Freud. I love Freud. Just understand that if you didn't do that, your whole mind is available to you. Now it's not. Why? Because you can't look there. And so not only is there an entire part of your mind that you don't have anything to do with, but you must continuously resist the event or it will come back up. No, not 20, 30 years later what mommy did. Go talk to Freud. Go talk to any psychologist or any psychiatrist or any therapist. Is that not what they're doing? Trying to find out why you're screwed up and then trying to help you release it? Have a breakthrough? What is a Freudian breakthrough? Finally, I saw what happened to me when I was young, and I cried, and I got so upset, and I could talk about it. It's like I felt all this energy free, and I feel free at once. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. I never felt so open. I've carried this my whole... Right or wrong? What does that mean? You let it go. What does that mean? You're not letting it go. It means every single thing in your entire life that you resisted is still in there until you're willing to let it go. And that's a lot of energy you're wasting, aren't you? And then there's a whole part of your mind that you can't use for math or for music or for anything else because it's busy being blocked down at that level. And that's what they call the subconscious. It's not that complicated, is it? And the most important part of the whole discussion is you're doing it. Okay? But it's so intense that you don't know you're doing it and you don't want to hear that you're doing it. Okay? It's just, how do I not feel the pain? And so you take drugs. And they give you drugs. Right? You go, oh my God, you're suffering here, take this. Or you guys go take the other ones. Or drink. Anyway, why do people do all that stuff? Because they have all this junk stored inside. They cannot handle it. They get tired. They get burned out. You don't get burned out because you work. You get burned out because you're pushing all this stuff down and work makes it come back up. You don't get along with this person, they don't like the boss did, you get this, that. Everything's hitting your stuff, so you're struggling. Now I need a vacation. From what? Yourself. There's no difference in getting in a kayak and going down the Swanee than it is going to work and putting widgets on top of something else. It's just something you're doing. They're exactly the same. There's no more stress until you do it because you can't handle it. And now you've stored all that stuff in there, and now all day stuff's hitting it. Is that true? Somebody doesn't say hello, somebody says hello, somebody's hair looks better than yours, somebody wears the same dress as you wore, you drop something on your suit when you go back to work, the boss gave a compliment to somebody else and you actually did it and they don't understand that. Every minute of every single day, there's something going on hitting your stuff. What stuff? The stuff you stored. If you did not store this stuff in there, it would not be in there, and you would belong to the moment of the day. It would come in. Doesn't mean it's going to be great, but it's going to come in. You're going to experience it. It's going to pass through. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Someday, when you learn to do the techniques we're going to talk about, and you get empty and you open up, you're going to find out that every single moment of your life is your teacher. Every experience you have teaches you what you didn't know before you had the experience. If you go in and have your hair done, and it comes out exactly the way you like it, that's an experience. You go in there and have your hair done, and it comes out in a way you don't like it, that's an experience. And both are equally wonderful for your spiritual growth. If you get married and stay married for 50 years, your entire life with one person, that's really beautiful. If you get married and it falls apart completely within 6 months and you're divorced, that's quite an experience, right? You'll do better next time, maybe. If you don't block it, you'll say, whoa, wow, did I mess that up? I could do better next time. Come on. Like, I have something to ask people. If you, let's say you're older and you're dating somebody and they're a divorcee, is that a good or a bad thing? It depends on how they did. Do they learn from it so that now you've got a much more mature person who understands how people can love each other and end up not loving each other and kind of say, I don't want to go down that road again. As opposed to, I'm completely naive. Oh my God, I follow you anywhere. It's the beginning and end of everything I've ever wanted my entire life. Okay, come back tomorrow. Matt, Yoga actually talked about that. He said, come back in 5 years, we'll see. What's the probability that that's still how you're feeling? Slim to nil. So a mature person has gone through experiences in their life, and they are better off because of it. But not if they resisted. If you resisted, you stored the bad part of the experience inside, and you will be afraid it will happen again. And you will not open your heart again, not fully. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that, yes, things happen. Yes, they do. Yes, we should work together as a society, as friends, to work to try to make the place a better place to live. There's lots of things we can do. But if something happens and you can't handle it, you can literally push it away hard enough so it ruins your life. You'll never get your heart open again. Your mind will never be settled again. It'll keep complaining and having problems and so on and so forth. So what I'm interested in is you understanding that if it is like that in there, I know you don't like this, you did it. You didn't do the event. That's ridiculous. But you dealt with the event when it came in a way that it stayed. And why would you want to do that? I challenge you. If you knew how to handle it without it staying, wouldn't you choose that? Okay, this happened. This happened. Is it painful? Yes, of course it's painful. It will be painful for a while. Of course it's painful. Somebody died, or somebody stole from you, or somebody, whatever it is. You had a situation in your life that was not comfortable. Is that okay with you? It better be, because it happened. So either it's okay with you and you handle it, let it go, or it's not okay with you and you keep it and let it bother you forever. Is it not true that if something happens that bothers you and you keep it keeps bothering you? Do you have things from your past that were unacceptable and that you couldn't handle, and you still think of them? People say things, they come back up. Your dreams get affected by them. Yes or no? So what we're talking about is it does not have to be like that. And it is not a matter of coping. Oh, come on, you went through this bad experience, you have to learn to cope. No, it's not about coping. It's about letting go. It's about saying, this happened. I'm not saying it's going to be done in an hour or a minute or some stuff like that, okay? Or 5 days or 10 days. Some things take time for you to be able to handle and let them go. I think it's beautiful. In the Jewish tradition, there's a thing called sitting Shiva. I think it's 5 days. I'm not sure. But I think it's 5 days. And what happens is somebody dies, who you love, who you're with, your partner, and 5 days. You mourn. You sit there, stay home, people come, they visit. Well, okay, that's really nice. What happens after the 5 days? You're ready to come back to life. You're ready to have processed that to let that go. It's not supposed to stay in there. You don't use the 5 days to suppress it, to rationalize and push it aside so it stays in there. And now every time you see where you used to eat, you get hurt, where you can't live in the town. I literally had people tell me that and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, that a psychologist told them, well, you had this bad relationship in this town, and it's over and so on, but you seem to keep having trouble. You need to move. You need to move. Because the restaurant hits you again, and then this hits you, and the house hits you, and people who knew your friends, and you can't have the same friends, you can't do anything because it keeps reminding you of it. Okay, that's one thing you do. You can move. That's like taking the drug. You're anxious, or here's some Xanax, or whatever the heck it is. I don't know. So it's like you just keep it, but learn how to live with it. Yoga doesn't say that. Yoga treats you like a very great being, because you are a very great being. And it says, you let it go. You have the ability to let it go. What does that mean? Non-resistance. One of the chapters on Untethered Soul is called the spiritual path of non-resistance. What does that mean? It comes in and I'm resisting. What if I don't? That's hard. Why? Because the energy is uncomfortable, to say the least. Uncomfortable is a nice word. You understand that? It's very uncomfortable. And I don't want uncomfortable. And so I push it away. Well, that is not a rational thing to do. Because when you push it away, it stays. Don't you dare think it goes away when you push it away. It does not go away, ever, ever. The example I always use is the Hoover Dam. There was this thing called the Colorado River. It used to flow down this stream and down the area of the bed, and for good reason, I'm not complaining about it, they built a dam there. So there was. So the river could not flow anymore, and we captured all the energy of the river, and we made turbines and made electricity out of the thing. All right? I'm going to ask you a question. Did that river stop trying to flow past that dam? It will never stop. It's trying to pass through, all right? You get a little hole in that dam, they better patch it. That whole sucker's coming down. The power of that thing is unbelievable. It's the same thing with the event. It's an event. It happened. It has energy. It has, the Buddha say, it has its nature. Its nature is energy. That's what comes into you is energy. The event does not come into you. The event doesn't come in through your eyes. Light bounces off the event. It brings its energy, sound, everything. Comes in through your senses. It comes in and then it paints in your mind and you resist it. Because it's not comfortable. In your heart, in your mind, everything inside. I don't want to feel this. And so use your will. The consciousness has power, will. It focuses and pushes it away. I'm telling you, it stays, just like the river. It will never stop. It will never stop till you let it go. Its nature is to flow. Its energy cannot stand still. Energy keeps moving. It's a wave. It's just passing through. So what happens? You put your will in its way. That's the dam. None of it's real, so will works just fine. You put the will in the way. You have power, fighting power. And I taught you before. What happens is it has to keep moving. It can't not move. So what does it do? The only way energy can keep moving and stay in one place is a circle. It circles around itself. Here it is. No matter how fast it goes, doesn't matter. It can do that, can't it? Now all of a sudden the energy did not stop, but it stayed in one place. That is called a samskara. That is the most important word you'll ever learn. You have a few of those. It doesn't have to be a giant thing, right? I tell you, Sally did something yesterday that you didn't understand. Next time you see Sally, what happens? It comes right back up. You're not being here now. It stayed inside, and there it is. So if Sally had a bad day, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. No big deal. If it goes through you, it passes through you. All kinds of things pass through you. I once told you, you are 95% enlightened. It's probably 99%. What? The trees go by, the cars go by, the grass goes by, the white lines go by. Almost every single thing you ever experienced, sight, sound, everything, came right in and passed right through. You don't hold it all in there, do you? Tell me about the white lines you passed yesterday. Tell me about the trees you drove by. Tell me about the people in the streets of New York that were walking. Nothing. All of it goes right through. You see, you are capable. But if the person who walks by looked like your ex, they didn't make it by. Are you hearing me? So there's just very little of what you experience that gets stuck in there. But when it does, it becomes your whole life. Instead of everything else is your life, that's your life. That's called the self-concept. That's the ego. That's what the ego is. Me. I, me, mine. That's what it's about, okay? The stuff you caught in there. Does it have to be that way? Obviously not. If 95% passes right through, obviously you're capable of letting things pass through without resisting them, aren't you? Well, take this example. You're walking down the street with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and all of a sudden somebody walks by that looks like your ex but doesn't look like their ex. They just keep walking. Nothing happens inside of them. So it can't be the event that did it. The only difference between you and them is you got something stuck in there that you held in there. All right. So now we've laid the groundwork. You want to do some spiritual work? You want to talk about spirituality? That's not spiritual. And sitting there saying, I got all this stuff in here and I can't deal with it because I'm scared of it and it's too painful and I don't want to deal with it. I want you to tell me how I can make life be so that it doesn't hit it. Where can I go? Who can I be with? What can I expect? What money can I have? What car can I drive? How can I dress? How can I act? How can I do so that the outside, when it comes in, doesn't hit my stuff? Okay? So if I meet somebody who, for whatever reason, they don't hit my stuff, just positive things that happen to me add together into this person, and I'm distracted by them and I feel comfortable around them, I love them. If they do one thing that hits my stuff, I never thought you would do that. I trusted you. I love it. What in the world do you mean I trusted you? I trusted that you would be what I need you to be to not hit my stuff. Okay? So now we get the groundwork. So one, you can go out there and try to attract to yourself everything that makes you feel better. Try to do drugs, try to do this, go on vacation. There's all this stuff of trying to make the outside world so that when it comes in, it doesn't bother you. Good luck. What's the other alternative? The other alternative is this thing called spirituality, spiritual path. So what happens? It takes two to tango. It takes the outside world hitting my stuff, and it takes me storing the stuff in there. Which one do you want to tangle with? Because you ain't tangling with the outside world, I'll tell you right now. There's no way in the world. You're making everybody and everything you ever meet be the way you need them to be so you're okay. So the alternative is to say, wait, I'm doing this. I'm not doing the event, but I'm doing the resistance. I'm doing what it hit. It didn't hit the person next to me. It hit me. I held that in there. So is it possible that it's more intelligent and wiser and better off, instead of trying to manipulate every moment that unfolds in front of me, to get rid of that stuff that I'm holding in there? What would that be like? That is spirituality. That is the pure definition of spirituality. I am working. I remember Rumi said the following: yesterday I was clever, so I was trying to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. That's the essence of spirituality. All right? So what does that mean? Am I capable of not holding this stuff in here? The answer is yes. You are capable. Period. But it was really big what happened to me. I know. And that's why I teach what I teach. I don't teach like this about the high-hanging, terrible things, because people can't handle it. Because that's not where you work. That's not where the work is. I'm saying right now, if you don't play the piano, don't you dare sit down with Beethoven or Mozart and try to play the thing. Well, it's the same thing in here. Don't even think about it. You weren't able to handle it when it happened. You can't handle it when it comes back up. You are not going to, just because of this talk or anything else, goody, it's gone. Oh, no, it ain't going to be gone. Because you're going to resist it. You understand that? You resist it when it happened. Even though it happened 20 years ago, it hurts when it comes back up, doesn't it? So what's the right thing to do? Learn to work with yourself. Learn to handle things. You don't start with the big things. You start with the low-hanging fruit. You start with the simplest thing in the world. People get so mad at me. All you told is the driver in front of you, or the sun is hot. What if somebody dies? I understand. Believe it or not, the answer is the same. The same is let go, but you can't do it there. But you will be able to if you work on yourself. If you every single day sit there and say, am I resisting the reality that just unfolded in front of me? Whoa, that's the question. Can I not resist this moment that unfolded in front of me? The fact that I went to the restaurant and the food wasn't as much as it used to be, it wasn't hot enough, somebody spilled water on me, oh, I know, it's terrible, okay? Or I dropped something on my pants, or the driver in front of me didn't use their blinker, and that's really a killer, right? Or somehow I got every light when I was driving to town, and just, oh my God, can you handle reality? And the answer right now is, oh, no, I didn't know I was supposed to. Yes, you're supposed to. You're supposed to handle reality. Start with the small stuff. How small? Wait till you see how much you complain about. Wait till you see. Oh my God, I gained a half a pound. Oh my God. It's every single thing causes you trouble, causes you angst. And by the way, you don't even wait for it to happen to bother you. You think about that it might happen, and it bothers you. We have a word for that. That's that W word. Oh, worry. You don't worry that something happened. It already happened. You worry that something might happen. So you're making it up in your mind that something you don't want to happen might happen. Does it bother you when you worry like that? And then you wonder, well, you're not okay. You're not okay because every single moment that happens to you, you find a reason to resist and get upset and hits other stuff. And you define, I don't want to get into it. So the answer is, you start somewheres, which is right now, and you sit there and say, okay, I can't do the big stuff right now. You can't. Don't even try. That's stupid. Don't sit there and say to me, but you gave me a teaching and I still have pain. What you sit there and say is there something I can do over time? Like when I learned the piano and when I learned to play tennis or I learned anything. Over time you get better, don't you? There's no way you pick up that racket and practice, you don't get better. Doesn't mean you get a pro, but you get better. Same thing with the piano. You play those scales, you can be better than the first time you sat down. This is exactly the same. You practice letting go. You practice acceptance with the tiniest little things that go on in your life that now you just don't think it means anything to resist them. It does. You're wasting your time. You're not practicing. So what you do is the driver in front of you is driving slower than you want to go, and you feel this. I'm sorry. Do you ever feel resistance? Do you know what I mean when I say you feel resistance? Inside, just feel resistance. Then the mind starts resisting, the heart starts resisting. You feel resistance. That's the time you grow. That's playing the scales. That's, oh my God, those are the most precious moments in your spiritual life. You feel the resistance, but it's not that strong. One, you notice it. The fact that you notice it means that's like when it's consciousness. I notice the tendency to resist. Now, are you willing to let go? Well, what does that mean, let go? Where I got in my growth is that relaxation is the antithesis of resistance. When you are relaxing, you can't resist. If the wind is blowing and I want to pick up the plywood and hold it, but instead I relax, I can't pick up the plywood and I can't hold it because I'm relaxing. I can't tense my muscles. I'm relaxing. So people always say, well, if something bothers me, I want to do something about it. Yes, you should. Relax. That's what you do about it. I'm serious. This is where the rubber hits the road. This is your work. You get to do it all day. You got a built-in video game. So it starts to resist, and you remember this talk. And you sit there and say, this matters. This matters. If I don't practice non-resistance, I will never learn non-resistance. I forgot. Why should I practice non-resistance? Because you stored all this stuff and you keep storing more stuff and it's causing you to suffer. It's stealing your life from you. That's why you bother to learn this. And so basically at that moment when it starts to tense and you feel those hands in there, those are the hands of your will, you can push things around, relax. That is very hard. Even with the little things. Okay? That's why we practice. It's like, it's hot out. Yes, it's hot. So, I don't like it. I'm sorry. This is so simple, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry that it's hot out. I'm sorry you don't like it. But you ain't doing squat about the fact it's hot out, but you can do something about that you don't like it. You have the right to work on yourself. You have the right to grow. You have the right to not resist. And so you find ways to work with yourself. I told you with the sun, I was always very into astronomy. I love all the stars. They help me think of the size of the universe. And so if it was hot, this was back in the 70s, I'd noticed he complains that it's hot. Didn't have air conditioning in my house or the car, and it's hot in Florida, and he'd complain. And I'd sit there and say, well, why is it hot? And Make a long story short, he'd look up at the sun and say, there, or Dad did it, right? And I'd sit there and say, what is that? He'd say, the sun. I said, no, it's not. It's a star. It's a star. It's the same thing you look at night, those little twinkle twinkles, but this one's close enough that you feel its heat. Wow. He thought that was fascinating. You're close enough to a star to feel its heat, and it's 93 million miles away, and you feel its heat, and you're complaining. How far is Miami? 250, 300? How big would a fire have to be in Miami for you to feel the heat here? If the entire city caught fire, you would not feel a single thing. That thing's 93 million miles away, and you feel the heat. OMG. All of a sudden, it's like, it's not sunshine, it's starshine. And if you stay out there too long, you don't get a sunburn, you get a starburn. All right? That booger is so hot that it can burn. Wow. All of a sudden, it's exciting. You get to do that. You get to work with yourself. That's called positive thinking. You're welcome to do that. Or you're welcome, I do this in a new book. I give you some techniques. And I used to give techniques. To me, once you understand what's going on, that's the technique. I don't want to be like this anymore. Good, don't. But people like techniques. So basically, positive thinking is a wonderful thing to do. Find ways to be positive about everything. Like I told you, what about something bigger, not really low-hanging fruit? Somebody's yelling at you. The boss is yelling at you. Just like we did with the sun and the star, watch this. Did you know that you have vocal cords? Humans have animals have sound-making cords. Meow, ruff, ruff. They make sounds. You make sounds too. But you are so good at it that you go, E, I, O, U, E, B, apple, apple. You make sounds, don't you? You can make it make sounds. That's pretty far out. And your mind is so intelligent that you can understand what somebody else means when they make that sound. He makes the sound, your ear picks up the sound, and you know what it's talking about. And that's what's happening when somebody's yelling at you. They're making sounds that you understand. Isn't that exciting? You can do it. You hear me? You can use your higher mind. The other one, you want a good one, right? Somebody's yelling at you, or you got in a car accident or something like that, right? Go see the little planet spin in the middle of empty space. I do it all the time. In fact, there's a picture right there, opposite that door there. And everybody said, well, why do we have this 8 by 10 blank picture on the wall? Well, it's not exactly blank. There's a tiny little dot on it, which is an actual photograph of the planet Earth from 2 million miles out. When Cassini was on her way to Saturn, she turned around and said, take a picture of home. Right? It's like that big in the middle of this thing. And you're on it, and there was a car accident. You're on it, and somebody yelling at you. You're on it, and you got sick, and you got to go to a hospital on this little planet spinning around the middle of nowheres. And there's nothing on any other planet. We sent the Hubble up there, and we sent the James Webb Telescope up there, and we ain't seen squat. Not an amoeba, not a protozoa, nothing. And you're on this little piece of dirt spinning in the middle of nowhere, and all this stuff's going on. That is pretty neat. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just amazing that it's going on, isn't it? I told you, go to Mars and stay up there for a while. There's nothing there by yourself, and there's sand and everything. And if all of a sudden a roach, big old roach, ran by, you'd run after it, not to catch it, to be friends. And you got all this going on here, and all you can do is complain. You get to do this with your mind. This is called using your mind constructively, instead of letting the fact that you couldn't handle some stuff and you stored it in there, and all that rot is coming up in your mind. All the complaints and the problems and the issues. That's because you stored that stuff. So basically there's an example. I love it. I'll never not do it. If anything's happening on this planet Earth, I read the paper. Come on, we read the papers. All this stuff goes on, right? You just take a little vacation. Start on the Earth. Just sit there like you're on top of the Earth, and then fall off. Fall off. Like that movie Gravity, whatever it was called, right? Just fall off, right? But don't resist. And then float until the Earth's not there anymore. Then go a little bit faster and start seeing galaxies floating by. Which ones? The 2 trillion that there are. And keep going forward and keep having it happening. And then when you get far enough into it and you're ready, and you won't be for a while, you listen to me, turn around and look back. There's no Earth. You don't even know what galaxy it belongs to. 2 trillion galaxies, each one with 300 billion stars. It's gone until You were never there. Why would it even be in your memory? It's like, this is the universe. You have every right in the world to use reality to liberate yourself. And then if you come back, it doesn't mean you don't come back. You come back, you're a totally different person. You hear me? The astronauts went up, and they had what's called the overview effect. When they went to space, they'd look down at the planet, and they said, my God, what am I doing down there? I was born down there, I'm going to die down there, and oh my God, and they come back, and they very much more constructive and much more caring and environmental and all kinds of stuff. All right? Well, you can have that with your mind. You don't have to go into outer space. You can go do what I just told you anytime you want. It's free of charge. When it's all said and done, it's the same as going. When it goes, I told you, it just comes in and then paints the picture in your mind. Well, you can paint the picture in your mind anytime you want. Liberate yourself. Free yourself. Free yourself. Work on yourself. All right? And you're going to find out that there's an anchor in there that keeps pulling you back. That you can't stay out there. It comes back. And if you're lucky if you can get out there. You can't get out there. I mean, you start to go out there. Yeah, but what about George? What's George going to do when I'm gone? Oh, my God. I don't know about the kids. I don't. So you basically wake up. You can work with yourself the way I talked to you with your mind. You can. A simpler thing to do is mantra. I want you to understand why these techniques evolved. They're real. They're not religious. What do you mean? Ever get a song caught in your mind? Ever get a song caught in your mind that won't stop? Well, now you have a choice. Pay attention to the song or pay attention to the garbage that your mind is saying. That's what a mantra is. It's a very neutral phrase that's going on in the back of your mind, not in the front, in the back of your mind. You can plant it there by saying it over and over again. And now an event's happening outside, and all of a sudden you start to feel all that junky energy, you know what I'm talking about, and all of a sudden you hear just quietly in the back, I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. How would you like to hear that every time somebody starts yelling at you while they're saying, I can handle this, I can handle this, instead of I can't handle this? Or do a mantra. I don't care. God's name, I don't care. The point is, you're not letting your consciousness become absorbed and addicted and struggling with this garbage that's coming up in your personal mind due to the stuff you stored in there. And next thing you know, your consciousness feels liberation. It feels a freedom. Okay? And then ultimately, it's witness consciousness. You don't have to do any of those things. Well, you should. You can do those things. I don't make sense you don't do them. You use the tools that are in your toolbox. Witness consciousness says, I don't need to think my way out. I don't need to mantra my way out. Although they're very good things to do. Don't hear me saying not to do them. I am noticing that the mind has its issues and the heart has its issues. But I'm not pulled into them. I'm just noticing. I'm not denying. I'm noticing. That's witness consciousness. From that seed of witness consciousness, you don't get pulled down into the garbage. So therefore, this act of not resisting is much easier because it's something down there. Ramdas once said, I feel like I'm standing on a bridge and the water's flowing out under the bridge, and every once in a while it hits some rocks and a spray comes up and it just reaches me. And I look down there and remember, I used to live in that. That's witness consciousness. I used to live down there in that tumultuous water. It's still there. I don't have to stop from being there, but I don't live there. I am the witness, the observer, the consciousness that is experiencing what's going on, that's aware of what's going on. And from there, from that seat where you're not sucked into it, how? By relaxing. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for more than 50 years. It's about relaxing. Isn't yoga about relaxing? Asanas, aren't they about relaxing? Okay, it's about relaxing. When you don't want to. The reason you don't want to relax is because you want to resist. You want to push it away. Relax. Let it pass through. And little by little, it'll be gone. All right? Now you do that with the simple things just for fun. And then you're going to find out you're better at playing the scales. Now you can play Twinkle Twinkle. Same thing here. You're better off at relaxing through things that you used to resist. Now all of a sudden something bigger will happen and the exact same behavior pattern inside will work. You'll relax. But just relax. And you'll feel some distance. And eventually what will happen is you'll start to feel what's underneath all that junk. When you shove that junk down there, you don't understand how important that was. Not only are you wasting your energy shoving it down there, but you shoved it on top of the Shakti flow. I promise you, I assure you, there is something beautiful flowing inside of you. Yogananda said there's a river of joy flowing inside of you. And basically, you blocked it with the stuff you're shoving down there. As you let it go, you'll start to feel that joy. All of a sudden, you'll hear birds sing. You'll feel love. Well, the birds were always singing. You were too busy listening to your junk. And all of a sudden, more and more things will pass through. You'll get higher and higher. And that encourages you to let go more. Because not because I taught it to you, you'll start noticing, if I'm willing to relax through this stuff, there's a much nicer life inside. And then you do more. And eventually, I always close this way, you get to the point, and you will. You will. I don't care how long it takes. If you work with this every single day and let go of the stuff as it comes out to the best of your ability, you will get to the point where the energy flows is so strong inside that it's always, the Bible calls it the rush of holy waters. There's always coming up inside of you, going up. Now it goes down because you're busy fighting with everything. It won't go down anymore. It'll go up. Every once in a while something will happen that could have brought it down, but you ain't trading that off. This is too nice in here. I ain't giving it. Yell at me all you want. Do whatever you want. You let go. Let go. And you start feeling this joy, this bliss, ecstasy, Satchidananda flowing inside. And eventually it gets so strong that you can't resist its pull. So that you who was noticing it falls into it. And that's like an experience of love that's so strong that you melt. Some experience happens. Some music, you can melt into music, can't you? You melt into the Shakti. And it takes you where it came from. And that's where the great masters went. I was in the spirit of the Lord's day. Man does not live by bread alone, but every word that leaveth the mouth of God. Every single thing they're teaching you is the exact same thing that yoga teaches, that the great masters experience, that Buddha's nirvana. It's all the same. And it gets so strong that your consciousness merges into it. That's what yoga means, union, merger. Your individual concept of self falls apart. Christ calls it dying to be reborn. Every single thing he taught, every single thing the Kabbalah teaches, every single thing the Sufis teach, it's all there, all of yoga. That's spirituality. And eventually you merge. That drop of your consciousness falls into the ocean of consciousness. And okay, so we talked about the heavy stuff, didn't we? I didn't just talk about the driver in front of you. But it's all the same. You have to practice letting go. It does no good to store what bothers you inside of you. It's going to keep bothering you. You have to learn how to let go. But that doesn't mean when you come back, you don't help, you don't work for change or whatever it is. But you don't do it out of anger. You don't do it out of hatred. You don't do it out of fear and anxiety. You don't do it because you couldn't handle it. Now I'm going to fight with everything to express that I couldn't handle it. You can handle it. You're the person I want at my table. I can handle it. I went through this. I went through this terrible situation. And how are you about it? It's fine. I understand. I understand how it happened. I forgive everybody. No problem. Now how can I help other people go through it? You're the person that can help them because you made it. So that's the highest thing you can do. It's not selfish. Let go. We talked about acceptance. We're talking about letting go. We're talking about surrender inside, letting go, falling back. Well, so that's the spiritual path. Work on these things. Jagrata.